My name is Pavel and I welcome you on my YouTube channel. Today in this video I want to speak about 5 general types of endgames. We will speak about pawn endings, about endings with bishop, about endings with knight, about endings with rooks, and about queen endings. So first of all, I want to give you the basic knowledges and basic tips how to play in such type of endgames. So first thing about the pawn endings is the location of the king, because king is the main piece in the pawn endings. And in the middle game we're trying to hide our king just not to get the checkmate attack. But in the end game it's not a big chance to have a checkmate attack. So that's why the king is a really important piece in the end games. And this way we need to improve the position of our kings. On the position of the chessboard we can see the big difference between the white king on d5 and black king on h8. Because white king staying in the center in the good position, and from this position white king can move to the king side or to the queen side. And the king in the center is like one of the main theoretical principle of the endgame, that you need to put your king in the center, because from the center king can go to the different flanks. And in this simple example we can see that this is different of the positions of the kings, getting white to win this position in general. So we can make some moves and we will see that the white king is going here on the queen side, and after this he will destroy all pawns of black. And after this white will easily promote their pawn to the queen, and this will be completely winning. As well we can see that black king has a really very long way to the king side to attack white pawns. So the difference between the locations of the kings made the success for white. That is the really one of the key reasons in general in the endings, and as well in the pawn endings. The second factor that I want to show you is an opposition. Opposition is the location of the kings, just like this. So we have one square between them and one king is staying up to another king. So, and here white have the opposition just because it's the blacks to move now, right now, and black will lose their position. After, for example, king d6, we will play king f5 and white king will destroy pawns on the king side and black will lose this position. The same thing will be after the king f6. So let's see out how white will win. King d5. So we are cutting the black king right now, so you can move even up to try to make some attack on the king side or to the queen side. So after this we will move to the queen side to eat all these pawns and promote one of the pawns for us. So we will see how white will win this game, because it's really quite easily. And we can see that of course black destroyed white pawns on the king side, but at the same time white pawns are better because they are closer to appear to become queen. So let's see how it was. And after this move we see that we have a completely winning position, just because white queen will easily stop these 2 pawns, and as well white have extra pawn to promote to the queen. So that is completely winning. So just remember the position at the beginning, that white had an opposition and they forced black king to make a space for white king to move up to destroy all the pawns. So that is actually one of the key factors as well of the pawn endings. So keep attention on this. Let's speak a bit about the locations of the pawns in the pawn endings, because it's extremely important to evaluate the position in general, to estimate it. So here we see that the white king not that good, because the black king can move up and he will be successful to destroy all these pawns of white, and black will win. But we are remembering that we need to count the position, a location of the pawns as well. And here it's like a classical example. We have a really nice and tricky combination to win this game with white. So let's check out how it was. b6. That is the really important move, because Doesn't matter with which pawn you will take. For example, a takes b6, we are playing a c6. So when we are forcing black to 8 on c6, and after a6, we are promoting our pawn to the queen in 2 moves. And we have like 1 pawn, black have 3 pawns, but it doesn't matter in general, because white will win this easily. So remember about the locations of the pawns, and you need to always count this factor, because this factor can be really important in the position. So let's move forward and speak more about locations of the pawns and the pawn structure. In this position we can see the material equality between black and white side, but at the same time we see the black, they have a double pawns, so they can't create the passed pawn here on this field, but white have a clear pawn structure and they can create a passed pawn easily because they have a 3 pawns for 2 black pawns. What is this passed pawn? The passed pawn is the pawn that doesn't have any opponents, and this pawn can easily go forward to become a queen. So this way, this position is completely winning for white. So we need to move firstly c4. Our idea is to create a passed pawn on the c file. Why we need to move from the candidate of the passed pawn, I mean like the c file pawn? Just because if we will move from the another pawn, it can be harder to create, because we need to a passed pawn, because we need to go back with the king to support b4. So if you can avoid something, if you can play more clear, if you can allow some variations, some counterplay from the opponent side in the endgame, you should do this. So try to play simple and good. After the c4 is much more easily to create a passed pawn. Let's see the following example. After several moves, we finally created a passed pawn on the c file. We can see that this pawn wants to go forward to a queen. Black took their position, but initially in this example, because of the really strong c-file pawn, they can't save with this tricky move. So in this position, we have like generally 2 plans. The first one is to go here to take the pawn on a6 and win the position because of the 2 extra pawns here on this square. So at the same time, please do not draw, because after this, some of us can make a draw because black, they can't move even. So pay attention and be really careful. When you have an advantage and you want to win the game, you need to be really careful. You need to see all over the board, just not to make some blunder. So be careful. As well, after this, we can move our king to the e6. Our idea is to sacrifice this pawn, to take all this pawn and to promote one of the pawns on the king side. It's like a typical maneuver in this type of positions. We are sacrificing this pawn just to make black king waste the time and waste an attention to this pawn, while we will eat everything here. So after some moves, we can see that white g-file pawn will be a queen in several moves. And after this, we will win easily. So it's no chances for black, and they don't have any counterplay. So it's really important, the location of the pawns and the pawn structure in general, because even we have at the beginning the position with the material equality is no sense because of the black bad pawn structure. They will lose anyway. So do not think only about the material, think about the positional factors as well. I think that we will speak more about the positional factors on our YouTube channel. You need to join my YouTube channel to subscribe to it, and you will see the really quality stuff about the chess. Another one example as well related on the location of the pawns and pawn structure. Here we can see the key factor of this position. Not only the passed pawn, but at the same time a promoted passed pawn. It's a really nice tool for white, just because black king can't eat this pawn because the g4 pawn is supporting this pawn. So, and black can't escape to the queen side just because they will lose the attention for this pawn, and this pawn will pass to the queen. So we will see this actually in the example. white wants to move up the king to take all these pawns on the queen side. And after this, black can't move with the king d6 before they're going out of the square. On the board you can see like a square rule. It's actually really useful for you. We can see that this from these fields, from this square, white king can take the pawn under control, but he is already in d6. This is why he can't take the pawn under control, and after h6 this pawn will be queen in several moves. So that's why king need to play on f6 just to pay attention for the h5 pawn, and after king d5 black will lose all these pawns. After the king c6, king takes b6 and king takes a5, and white will easily win. So remember that in the pawn endings, not only the passed pawn but the promoted passed pawn is a really nice tool that you can use, and this tool can bring you a real big advantage. Let's move on to the knight endings. So what can we say about the knight endings? In general, we can estimate them like a pawn endings. So I mean, like, if this ending with like only kings and pawns will win for the one side, the same will be if we will put knights to the both sides. It's like a general rule that you can rely on, but of course lots of positions they have some difference for sure. So here in this one example about these endings, we will see the difference between the positions of the knights and how white will use them, this difference, to win the game in general. So here in this example, white to move, and you need to be really careful in ending with the moves, just because it's not lots of the pieces on the board, and each move need to be really concrete. So let's see this example. h5, this really tricky and nice move. We see the difference, the big difference between the positions of the knights, because white knight on the e4 placed in the center, and this knight is really plays good. I mean that he can move to the each flank he wants. At the same time, black knight on h1 can't even move because our knight, white knight, will take him from the g3 or f2. So we will use this difference in their locations between their positions. After the h5, this like a really thin move, we see that black have the position of the Zugzwang. This means that every move that black can do leads to a really bad position, even worse than it was in the beginning. So here black can move only by king, and after king d5 we are moving up the king just because we want to go to the king side to attack all these pawns. After king d7 we are moving our pawn to g3. This is the really nice and tricky move, and we'll explain why. In ending we have a such rule. You need to move fast but slowly. So remember, you need to move fast but slowly. I mean, it's really maybe hard to catch the wave of this principle at the beginning, but we will see on this example as well why it's so. So why white don't want to play g4, for example? Because we can see on the board there's actually no sense, g3 or g4. But after g3, white have a possibility of g4 in future, and maybe they will create another Zugzwang position for black. So that's why white wants to save the possibility of g4. So this is why this thin move g3 really extremely good. So king e6, king c6, and after this we can move with the king on f7. But after this black can play king d5, and black want to make some treatments. I mean, like to attack the knight on e4 and to move on to c4 to attack white pawns. But after the g4 move that we saved previously for us, we are forcing black king to go back. So we are winning a tempo, and this time is really important here. After this, white king is still on d5, but at the same time we won a pawn on g7. So we see the difference between the positions that we discussed previously and that we have now. Knight d2. This is really, again, a thin move because we're trying to take under control the c4 square. And after knight f2, we are going with our pawn on h5 to h6 and to h7 and h8 to promote it to the queen and win this endgame completely. So it was a nice example, and actually the main rule that we got from this example is that you need to be fast, but do it slowly, please. So try to understand this key factor, one of the key factors on the endgames. So let's move to the bishop ending to feel the key factors of this endgame. In this example, we can see, first of all, the difference between two bishops. Because if we will change this white bishop to a pawn, it will not make a sense for us. I mean, we can call this bishop a big pawn in the position, just because this bishop is cut by his own pawns. And from this, we can see one of main rules that if you have, for example, a dark square bishop, try to put, like black, pawns on the white color, just because this way you will take white squares under control, and at the same time you will have a space for the bishop. It's really important because, for example, white have all their pawns on the black squares, and this way bishop on b2 is like a big pawn as well. So here we can see the really big difference between bishops, and black will use it. Bishop c7, bishop c1, because we can't play bishop a1. After bishop c4, g takes f, and g3 takes. We have a passed pawn that we will promote in one move. It's like, a little combination from the general strategy of the position. And we can use these little combinations in endings as well. So it's like these combinations, they're going from the general strategy principles of the position. So white needs to move to c1 to protect the f4 pawn, bishop d6. That is the best place in this position for the bishop, because from the d6 square he taking under control a3 pawn and f4 pawn. So here he is working for the two flanks at the same time, and this way white have a Zugzwang position. So after, for example, bishop d2, I will take on a3, and I will have a material advantage that I will promote a pawn from a4 to a1. If we will play bishop b2, we already know that I will play bishop f4, like in the previous example. And if white will play king c2, I can play king c4. And at the same time, I will win this position. After king d2, I think that all of us can find the bishop f4. And if g takes f, we have a g3, h takes, h2, and the queen next move. So that's why white need to play king b2, and after king d3, our king can move to the h2 pawn to eat it, and black anyway will promote one of the pawns. So that's why this position is completely winning for black. So in this example, we saw the difference between pawn structures and the locations of the bishops, and the difference between their power. So black have a powerful bishop, and white had a really big pawn, not like a real bishop. So pay attention for the black moves bishop c7 and bishop d6, because they try to evaluate the position of their key piece. So it's like a general principle of chess. You need to try to put your pieces on the best positions in the position. So it's like one of the best and one of the main principles of chess. Here, with actually not that much number of pieces, we can see this principle. In the bishop endings, we can have a different color of the bishops. In this position, for example, white have a light square bishop and black have a dark square bishop. And this actually a big symptom of a draw, because black will take all their pawns under control with the bishop after, for example, g5, and white, for example, can move f3 in future and g4. And this bishop will take all these pawns under control. So that's why it will be a draw this way. So remember that in the endings, the different colors of bishops is the big symptom of a draw. So let's move to the even like a hardest type of the endgame. It's like a rook endings. Actually, according to the statistics, this kind of the endgame appears more and more than other types of the endings. So you should know more about this, and we can go and we will go deeply in the details and the key positions of the rook endings. So first of all, let's start with the really calm situation, how to win this simple position with the extra pawn. I mean, like, it's not that much easy if you don't know the method. So, and I will bring you the method of the winning like such types of the position. Actually, the method calls to construct a bridge. So we will see on the example. After rook e2, knight king d7, rook e4. White wants to avoid the checks from black side, because when we will move our king, we will get lots of checks. So we will see how it will be. I want to promote a pawn, so that's why black needs to check. They want to make even a perpetual check, but they can't do this because we created a bridge. And after this next move, we will move to g4 and make a queen, even if we will transfer the position to the king endings. So our queen on the board. So remember this tricky tool that calls to construct a bridge, and this method will help you to win like such simple kind of the positions. But what to do if you don't know this? If you don't know this, it's really hard to find this on the board. I mean, even for example, imagine you are playing a blitz game. So that's why I want to recommend you to pay more attention for the rook endings, maybe like on the private sessions, I don't know, and go deeply in the literature. So pay attention. That's a really hard topic. At the same time, we can be a weak side in the rook endings. So how we will defend? How we will find the way to make a draw? Here, but I have a tricky move, rook h1. This is a really important thing, just because we need to place our rook behind the pawn. From this side, rook will have lots of chances to check, and as well will attack this pawn. For instance, like after this move, I will make a check here, and I will go here. And my idea is to take this pawn even. So if white will defend by king, I will check as well. And I will check, and when white king will go somewhere, I will again make a treatment to the d5 pawn, and this way I will make an easy draw. So remember this rule that you need to place your rook, if you're a weak side, behind the pawn. This way you can attack the pawn and combine this with the checks to the opponent king. It's a really useful tool to defend in the simple rook endings. We are moving to a real famous position in the rook endings, a position that was created by the François-André Feldor. He was a famous master of the 19th century, and he created this theoretical position that may be even the main position in the rook endings. How to make a draw here? So, if black will stay on the place, like rook b2 for instance, I will move with the king, and after this and this, I will have a real big advantage, because even I want to a checkmate. And if I will, for example, make a check here, I will go like this, and at the same time I want to make a checkmate. So that's why the first move must be rook b6. I want to cut the 6 for the white king. And after white will push the pawn on d6 with the idea to play king e6, I will move back to b1. And in this position, white can't hide anymore in front on the pawn, and I will make lots of checks here, and I will, like in the previous example, combine the checks with the treatments to the d6 pawn, and this way I will make an easy draw. You can make this position on the board and you will check this, that here black will reach the draw. So remember this tool, remember this position, you need to know it really good, and it will be useful in your practical games. And maybe you will save a really important points in the tournament with these knowledges. We are moving up to another theoretical position that was created by the Vanchura, and it calls Vanchura position. So here we see that black king is really quite away from the passed pawn on a6, and actually white wants to play rook c8, for instance, just to push a7 and a8 to promote the queen. So this way the only move for black is to make a check on f5. I want to make lots of checks, so this way white king is going closer to the rook just to avoid the checks. And here you need to make a right move to reach the draw. Rook b6. After the king f7, we will have a little combination, and white will transfer this position to a completely winning pawn ending. So be careful with this stuff. And after rook b6, actually I want to make again checks, and at the same time after a7, for instance, rook b6, a7, I will play rook a6. And it's impossible to move the rook more, and I have a rook behind the pawn, so I will go to the a1, for example, and combine checks with the treatment to a7 pawn, so it will be an easy draw for black. So after rook b6, king d5, I will stay on the place, rook f6, and if you will see that we have a repeat of the position, so we had this position before. So rook a7, king g6, rook a8, king g7. We are staying on the place, and we can keep the draw actually. So, and after this, we will make a draw because we are going to the same position that we had already. So remember this Vanchura position, it will help you to make a draw. So don't be even upset if your king is really long away from the passed pawn. Maybe you can use the Vanchura position to make a draw and save some points in the tournament. As well, we need to discuss long and short side in the such type positions like a rook endgames. Here, after the rook a1, black rook take the long side. I mean, like here we have only 3 positions for the rook, and here we have 5 squares. From the long side, it will be easily to check because it will be harder for white to avoid these checks. So if you want to defend, you need to have a rule that your king needs to be on the short side and your rook needs to be on the long side, and this way it will be easier to make a draw. So remember this useful rule. We will see the example. After rook d8, rook e1. Black wants like to wait a time, so keeps waiting, no worries. We are keeping our waiting here. And here we are starting the check, so we are staying behind the pawn, and we can move, for example, if we will need to move to the long side and our king on the short side. So everything is clear here. And after this, white can't improve the position because black have a counterplay. So this why this position leads to a draw. So remember this example and remember the rule that you need to have your rook behind the pawn on the long side from the pawn, and you need to have your king in front of the pawn and on the short side from the pawn. So these principles will maybe save your game and you will lead to a draw. So let's move from the basics of the theory to the more practical side, and we will see the example how to use the material advantage and how to bring this material advantage in the rook endings to your 1 point in the tournament sheet. So we see the example from the game between Alohin and Capablanca. The first move was rook a4. White wants to bring the rook behind the pawn, and this way this rook will be in the bad position. Just because this rook can't move out, I will promote my pawn a6, a7, a8. So this way this rook is really weak. Black plan is to move king to the queen side to change the positions between the king and between the rook. So it's like the only one chance probably to make some counterplay with the rook. Here we have a kind of a structure that we know from the practice that this kind of a structure, the best one in the Rook endings. So I mean, like the practical games showed us that this kind of a structure is the best one. So just believe me here, because we have like a short excursion to the endings. I can't explain like everything, so believe me on my words. Let's see how it was in the game. Rook a2. This is a really good move because white wants to see what black wants to do. Remember, hurry up but slowly. And at the same time, I am defending my pawn on f2, so it's like a thin prophylactical move. And I avoid any treatments after the king b5 to my rook on a4. So it's like a prophylactical move that's really good. White wants to move their king to the f6 to destroy the pawns on the king side. So black reached their goal. They changed the positions and now rook are more active than king was. But anyway, the king is really far away and white have a big advantage, material and positional advantage with this pawn, passed pawn. So that's why they will win anyway. So white wants to go from this side because the black cut the f6 square for them. f4, rook c5, rook a3. I want to avoid the rook c3 counterplay. I want to defend my pawn on g3. Hurry up but slowly. I need to play really good, and this way I need to defend this pawn to avoid any counterplay. A little combination. White wants to destroy the pawn structure and use it in future, because anyway I will take all these pawns or even like some of these pawns. At least I need to take a pawn on h4, h5, and after this I will get my h4 pawn as a passed pawn as well, and I will win this endgame. This is why black wanted to defend it, but anyway I will win this position. So now black have a kind of a zugzwang because they can't move from this rook. And now I'm ready to sacrifice this pawn on a5 because after this I will have a winning pawn endings. After I will take on f7 and e6, e7, e8, and I will promote the queen. So pay attention to this. But can't take the pawn. They played here king h6. So I'm ready really to sacrifice it. Rook e5. So what we can see, I sacrifice this pawn, but I will take this pawn, and in the future I will take this pawn. And we have a black king far away from the theater of our war. So this why I will completely win this position. I will take on f7. Rook e7, really good move because I want to cut black king on e file, and this way I will promote one of my pawns. And actually black resigned just because they can't bring the king to defense the king side, and rook can't handle h4 and f4 pawn at the same time, so I will promote one pawn anyway. So that's why black resigned. That was a really nice example how to use the material advantage. We need to play really clear. We need to hurry up but slowly. We need to pay attention for the opponent counterplay to avoid any chances from the opponent. And we need to have a clear strategy. In this game we had a strategy to bring out the king to the king side to eat all these pawns. And to have a next pass pawn on this field. And promote it to the queen. So this way white won really good, really easily, just because they had a nice plan how to do it. So let's see how to win with a positional advantage, how to create from this advantage a point in your tournament sheet. So here we have a position from the game between Capablanca and Tartakover, and we can see that white have promoted passed pawn on g5. They have a really active rook, and they have black have a passive king. So this way white can even sacrifice something on this part of field just to make a active play here. And this way, white played king g3. They want to sacrifice on c3 to bring the king from h4, h5 to the g6. They will take on the f5 probably, and they will promote some of the pawns. They will combine treatments of a checkmate with rook and king with the treatment of promoting some pawn. So let's see. I can even sacrifice, because after the rook f4 I will play king g5 and king f6, and I have a really strong positional advantage because my pieces are really placed very good. So it was in the game like this. I don't even take on f5 because I want to avoid some checks right now. I want to make a treatment of the mate in one. Again, I will eat f5 pawn if I want later. So at the same time I want to play rook c8 to have a checkmate. And now I can end off f5. And what we can see, we have a material equality, but all black pieces are placed bad, all my pieces are placed good. I have an active rook, active king, and I have even a passed pawn that I will use to win. I will take on d5 if I want. g7, tricky move, because after rook g7 I will transfer a position to a completely winning endgame, pawn endgame, because I will play king c6, d4, d5, and after this I will promote a pawn. So this way, king g8, I took on a7, and I have a completely winning position anyway, just because I have two extra pawns already. So we have a material advantage. So we had a positional advantage in the at the beginning, and now we have a material advantage. So white won this position quite easily, just because it's not hard. So I will promote my d-file pawn, I will pass it to the queen, and that's why black resigned in this game. So we saw a really nice example that we even kind of sacrifice something just to make our positional advantage much stronger. So remember this good example, and I think that this principle and this example will help you in your practical games. So after we're done with the rook endings, let's move to the last kind that we decided to discuss in this video. It's like a queen endings. I know that in general, endgame appears when we have an exchange of the queens. But at the same time, we have a type of the queen endings where we have not that much number of pieces like this, and for example, this simple example, and we have queens. So still ending because of the position. We have only like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pieces on the board, like this. So I don't want to go deep in this type of endings, just because it's these endings appears really rare in the practical games, and I think that is not much useful to know a lot for beginners about these endings. Actually, the key factor I want you to learn about these endings that you need to be careful with the king plays, because for example here in this position, black to move, white have 3 more pawns, and one of the pawn want to be a second queen for white with a checkmate, but still because of the weak position of the king, white can't escape eternal check here. So we see that we changed the position from the h1 to a1, but still we can't avoid the eternal check. So it's impossible. So in queen endings, please pay attention on your king position, just because queen is a really strong piece that can move and check you from the different sides of the board. So pay attention on this. So in this video, we saw the 5 general types of the endings: pawn endings, bishop endings, knight endings, rook endings, and queen endings. We have like we had a short excursion around the key factors, key positions of the such types of endings. Of course, if you want to learn more about chess, you know to go deeply. But in this video, you will find like a basic of a basic. And from this basic, you can move forward to have more knowledges about the endgames in general. As well, we need to speak more on our channel about endgames. We need to see the complex endgames with lots of pieces. We need to speak more about the strategy of the endgames, and we will do it for sure. So I want you to subscribe on my YouTube channel. I'm just started, and I hope that with you we will have a nice days, and we will have nice videos on our channel, and we can still work together. If you want to learn more about chess, or even you want to have a private lessons, please find my contacts on my YouTube channel and write me back. I will wait for your message. Have a nice day and love chess.